Hey, chestnuts! Today we're gonna look at one of the coolest games I've ever seen. No, seriously though. And it was made in 2019 too. 2019. And it this is one of the coolest moves I've ever seen. Alright. This was played by Dubov and Giri in the FIDE Grand Prix in Moscow, and we'll be analyzing it. So the first move is d4. Oh, knight to f6. d4, e6, knight to f3. And we have d5. Then bishop to g5, which is actually not like an advantage for white, but Dubov said he spent a week preparing, up to a year. So man, if you're gonna, even though it's not like a main line, right? If you spent a week preparing for it, you probably have some good tricks up your sleeve. Alrighty, so we have d takes c4, then e4, then we have b5. Now you're attacking this pawn, right? And if you know, you can't take this because the bishop will capture the queen. So b5 and then a4 to contest this pawn, right? So far white has given up a pawn, but we'll see what he gets for it. We'll see if he gets a positional advantage. Okay, a4, and then we have c6, reinforcing it. And if you just capture this, then black will just undouble his pawns, and probably not a good idea. Okay, knight to c3. Then we have b4, and then now white will have to go. There's not really, if you move here, you're gonna block the bishop. Not really a good square for this knight. So you have to go back, but at the same time, you're stopping this. This is a very common move in this position. At the same time, you're stopping this pawn from being defended by, like, you can't move pawns back. You can't go back to defend it, right? So knight goes back. b1, bishop to a6, reinforcing this pawn. Now that this pawn isn't doing that, right? e5. Okay, and it's not as bad as it looks. No, black didn't just blunder a pawn. I mean, a knight. You have h6. Bishop takes f6. G takes f6. And then we have e takes f6. And it's looking pretty dicey for both sides. It's a very double-edged game. So this pawn is infiltrating like a spy. And then, but white hasn't even castled yet. So it's looking like a pretty interesting game. And Dubov is known for these kinds of games, you know, what he lives for. Blood, the thirst in his veins. Okay. c5 to contest the center. Dubov did mention queen d5, then bishop e2, c5, castles, knight to c6, knight b to d2, takes, captures, and rook to c1, which honestly looks like it's losing. So maybe a little too inventive right here, but who knows? Maybe because you still have this extra piece, but at least this king is open and this king is. But it might be a little too much. You might be having to rely on black to make a mistake instead of playing accurate moves and winning. So, all right, that's not what happened. c5. Then we have knight b to d2, and then we have c3. If you just capture this, right? You run into bishop takes c4, and you're activating white's bishop, and then now there are these castling ideas. So Giri chose to keep the position slightly more complicated. B takes c3, b takes c3, and then knight to e4. C takes d4. These pawns looking mighty scary. Bishop to b5 check. Dubov also thought bishop takes a6, knight takes a6, castles, and knight to C5 was also alright. And then it'll be rook to E1. There's also this move. So after bishop, he takes D4. We also have knight takes D4, and then queen to D5, and reinforcing this knight with F3. Then we have bishop to B4, and it's looking pretty scary for white actually, and black looks okay for now. Knight to C2, queen takes D1 check. But it seems like, I mean, I guess maybe black would want to keep queens on the board, because if you just simplify this position, so this would be equalizing, but yeah, this is also a possible variation. Bishop to B5 check. What happened in the actual game though? Enough of fantasy land. Actual game time. Bishop takes B5, then we have A takes B5, and then we have queen to D5, and that's a pretty good centralizing move, right? Now this queen radiates a bunch of power. Then queen takes D4. The more solid move, queen to D3. Dubov thought about it, but he's a super aggressive player, so he kind of didn't want this line. He said it's hard for white to break through, even though it might be slightly more solid. Knight takes C5, bishop takes C5, and rook F to E1, then bishop to B6, right? Okay. Then we have queen takes B5. Wait, whoops, my bad. Then we have queen takes B5, and then queen takes B5, and then we have knight takes C3, then bishop to B4. So now this knight can't capture this queen because of this pin, and it keeps this queen is. King's like, I want a castle. Why don't you let me castle? But you can't castle. So here Dubov could have played the relatively. It's the more solid move, the safer move, knight to D2, right? Maybe even more correct. Bishop takes C3, queen takes C3, and then knight to C6. But what he actually chose was the most ambitious move, according to him, in this position. But also, in my opinion, could be the most ambitious move this year, in the year 2019 at least, this past year. So, how about you take a few minutes and you try to see if you can find the move that made Giri go, nah! No, he didn't do that. He just gone. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, few minutes. All right, if you found the move, congrats, man. You should just become a super GM or something like that. It'll be easy for you. Okay, I believe in you. I believe. All right. So what Dubov played was, oh, castle queenside. Oh my goodness. All right, now let's see what let's see what Giri played. Giri played queen to A5. Actually, post analysis, queen to B6, or post game, queen to B6, knight to B5, queen to C6 check might be okay actually. Knight to A6. So could even be better. I mean, white's king is a sitting duck, and it seems like black's king is safe with this queen. But Giri chose the sharper line, which was queen to A5. Oops. Oh, I just captured that. Oh, okay, queen to A5. Now putting a double two pieces on this. Knight to B5, and then we have knight to A6. And we have queen to D7 check, king to F8, and then King to B1. Oh my goodness. Gets crazy. And what Dubov said is, I didn't really calculate. This is what he says. I was just trying to convince myself that it looks well, and let's pray it works. So that's some crazy intuition right there. He's just, praying that stuff is gonna happen to him. All right, next move, bishop to a3. Another move, which is super difficult to find, which might have been better. It might have even equalized. Rook to h7. It's not equalized, but I mean white's still better a little bit. But it would have been harder to win. Then we have knight to e5, bishop to c5. Then we have rook to d2. These moves are just really ridiculous to see. And then rook h to d1, doubling up. And then queen to b4 check. Crazy enough, these pieces actually cannot get at this king because of these rooks. Insane. Okay, rook to b2, e4 check, knight to d3. Then we have queen going to g6 and reinforcing everything. So this might have been harder to win, but harder for white to win. But it's just really difficult to find. Bishop to a3. Then we have rook to d3. And then we have queen to b4 check. Actually, it's rook to d3 was the only move that wins. So it's pretty precise move, right? You're just covering this row, and making way for this rook, and perhaps you have these ideas of this rook going here and attacking this. So you have to be super precise. All right, queen to b4 check, king to c2. Then we have queen to a4 check, king to d2, and now the king is slowly getting safer and safer. Bishop to b4 check. It's an insane game. Then we have king to g8, and then knight to e5. A move that was probably less natural, because this looks really good, because like this knight is getting into position to attack the king. Maybe to bring in this. Maybe this is what Morphy would have done or something. I feel like Morphy would have done this to bring more pieces in position. Bishop to f8 to try to solidify the king so he doesn't get too wrecked. Knight to e5, and then now there's this two pieces attacking this, right? So then rook to h7. Then we have rook to d4, getting this queen out. Yeah, queen to c2, check. Then king to f1, and then this might have actually even won the game. h5. So it's not looking good, while white's king is looking safer and safer, right? Okay, queen to b7. Now there's this fork between these two pieces. And then you have to, move this away, and then now. So that's really hard to see, and maybe it's less obvious, and yeah, maybe Morphy would have played. All right. Then we have queen to c2 check, king to f3, rook to f8. Because at some point you got to defend that, and perhaps Giri thought he only had drawing chances, right? I mean, yeah, at this point it looks difficult, and just moving this here looks a little riskier than trying to bring all your pieces in position. And plus we still had that same fork idea, right, between these two when the rook was there. All right, rook h to d1, and then Dubov was not happy that he did not see this move in the game, because now this rook can get into the game, but he at least has the best reply. Queen to d4, then rook to h7, queen to f4, getting closer and closer to this king and stopping that idea. Bishop to c5, and then knight to d4. Actually, this was interesting, and gets more pieces into play, but queen to g5 check might have been even slightly better. King to h8, rook 1 to d2, queen to b1. Yeah, this is what would happen, possibly. And we have rook to d8, and now this king's looking sad. Rook to b3 check. Rook 2 to d3. Queen takes b5. Rook takes f8 check. Bishop takes f8. And we have knight to g6. This is pretty cool. Check. And then queen takes b5 now, right? Because we have the discovered attack. Right. So that's a possible line, and it probably wins faster, but hard to see. Knight to d4, putting more pieces here to finally put the finishing touches on the king. And then we have queen to a2, trying to reinforce this, right? Then we have rook 1 to d2, getting this queen out of the way. Queen to d5 check. King goes to e2, and now it's looking, yay! My friends are there around me, and I feel safe and secure. Okay, bishop to b4. And then we have knight d to c6. And then we have queen to c5. Because now this rooks are attacking this. Oh, that's not c5. Queen to c5. And then knight to e7 check. Looking, uh-oh. And then after this, Giri resigned. Maybe you could try to find, before I show you, try to find why he resigned. Do it! I believe! I kind of already hinted a little bit with my mouse. Okay, after knight takes f7, and then rook takes, we have this move. We have a we have this queen move, right? Queen to h6 check, and then rook to h7, queen takes, and then it's all ogre now, baby. It's all over. There's also, if this rook moves, then we have a little easier continuation. Rook to d8 check, rook to f8, rook takes f8, and that's mate. Ooh. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed this game. Probably, it might even be the greatest castling move of all time. I don't know. There's been a lot of games, but this castling move is insane. So, yeah, if you guys like this game, you know, press that like button, hit it like a clock. Smash the subscribe button like a clock. And you can tap the notification bell like a clock. Okay. So, I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you next time. We have some awesome stuff.